For the ones not interested in watching all these pictures of the build that I took while building, go to about the 5-minute mark to see the car on a rotating platform to show it in every single angle. I started this build just like any other. Prepped all the body parts, scribed the panel lines, and moved on to primer. But before I could do that, I modified the front bumper a bit. It came separate from the body, but it was one piece, a lower and a upper piece, and I wanted those to be separated, so I just took a saw, removed the lower piece, and glued the top piece to the body, refined the panel lines, sanded it down with some 600 grit, added a couple of coats of primer, and then laid down a couple of coats of gunmetal in order to be as a base for the carbon fiber decals. With that gunmetal added, I just masked the entire piece off that needed to stay this gunmetal, and I moved on to applying a couple of coats of Carrera GT Silver from Porsche. After applying that coat of silver, I removed the masking tape and started the humongous task of carbon fiber decals. Now for these carbon fiber decals, I used the ones from Scale Production, which turned out to work really nicely. I punished myself by deciding to do the carbon fiber in a split pattern straight down the middle, as the real cars have this as well. It took a bit longer, but in the end I'm happy I did it because it looks 1,000 times better than just going in one direction. This is my personal preference, so it's all up to you if you want to do it or not, but I kind of like the way that it looks. So after spending about 10 hours on all the carbon fiber decals for all the body components, I moved on to applying a couple of light coats of diamond clear. I know some of you might have liked it better if I would have done the carbon fiber in a matte or satin finish, but I myself personally prefer carbon fiber to be super glossy. I just like the way that it looks a lot better, and in this case I thought it finished the model off a lot better than it would in some satin or matte finish. Maybe for another build I will try some matte, but for this one I kind of like this a lot better. With the body done and set for now, I let that dry up for a bit, moved on to the interior, did a two-tone with some black and red, and added some silver and gunmetal accents all over the place, and finished it off with some flocking, decals, and seatbelts. After finishing the interior, the body now had a proper amount of time to dry off, so I could safely move back to that. Adding some black accents all around, especially looking at the inside of the roof and the door rubbers. With that done, I set the body back aside and moved on to the chassis, painting all the separate pieces in various different colors, shades of silver, shades of black, and some gunmetal as well. It all could be assembled, weathered a bit, carbon fiber decal could be added to the engine cover, and it all could be assembled. Right from the start of this build, I knew I was not going to be using the stock wheels. Luckily, I found some of these Hobby Design Monza wheels, which fit perfectly in the style of this build, and size-wise, they fit nicely inside of the wheel wells alongside of some Scale Production 19-inch profile tires to finish it all off. Now, some of you wanted me to do the doors open. I personally didn't really like it, but just for a couple of pictures, I set the door in the open position. After that, I cut off the tab and closed it all up to my preferred style. To sum this build up a bit, it is a fantastic kit, nice quality from Revell, nothing to complain about that. The size of the wheels leaves something to be desired for, but that is to be expected with a Revell kit. It needs some attention in various places, but nothing that can't be fixed pretty easily. So I fixed the wheels and tires with some aftermarket ones, and I added a lot of carbon fiber decals all over the place to make it look a bit more realistic and spec it in the way that I would have wanted it to. The only downside I found out in the end was the doors. They did not really fit perfectly, and the hinge that Revell supplied wasn't really that super strong, so I removed it, just closed the doors and glued them shut. Overall, a really nice build and a kit I would recommend, not for the beginner, but just for the little bit more experienced builder. It's an absolute gem of a kit.